I think I got everything. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Fida Adely, and I'm the director of the Center for Contemporary Arab Studies. 50 years ago, I feel like I'm going to be making this speech several times this year, but it's going to be a very brief version of it. But 50 years ago, our predecessors established the Center for Contemporary Arab Studies, a center dedicated to education and knowledge production about the region, grounded in the diverse perspectives and experiences and scholarship of people in the region and the Arabic language, and a commitment to ethical engagement with the region. Through a robust program of public events, educational outreach, and a Master's of Arts in Arab Studies, which many of you here are enrolled in, we continue to do this work today, 50 years later. Critical to all of this, of course, has been a long history of CCAS staff who's come through as well. Some of them are here tonight too. I want to particularly thank our CCAS staff, Mimi Kirk, Mackenzie Paus, Vicky Velasic, Darani Patharsati, sorry to say that slowly. Rania Kiblawi is also here somewhere, who used to be the associate director of our center and is now at Aramco Americas, and I'll tell you more about Aramco in a moment. You're going to be hearing from some of our faculty. Our academic director of the academic programs, Professor Marwa Daoudi, is with us here this evening. Ustad Bakush, who's been here with us at the center all along. Sorry, did someone say something?
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Okay.
I was just trying to tell her she could sit there.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, and I'm going to be introduced, other folks are going to be introduced later, but I just want to say that in the summer of 2023, I was about to start as director of the Center for Contemporary Arab Studies, and I asked Ryan Zohar to have coffee. And I said, Ryan, I'm becoming director and our 50th anniversary is going to happen. While I'm director, I want to do some kind of archive, or maybe you said we should do an archive. I don't know. It was a conversation about what we might do to mark this and how we might work together to do that. So the conversation started in larger library over coffee, and then was picked up by Ali Tohamy, an alum of our program, who's now a student at Yale, PhD student at Yale, who was working with Ryan, our Middle East Studies librarian, through a National Resource Council grant, right? Was working at the library in a partnership between CCAS and the library. And Ali and soon Shifaa Alsairafi was also key to this project. And the two of them began the work of going through boxes and boxes of material and beginning to try to envision what this archive might be. By chance, Suhaib Taha, who's here, Suhaib, was a summer intern here. She from Bethlehem University, and was also commandeered, commissioned, engaged in doing some of this archive work. She was working with Coco Tate, and she and another intern did a kind of initial attempt to create a timeline and link it to some of the documents in our office. And they really provided for us a structure to work with moving forward. Since that time, Olyvia Lennox, who's online with us today, joined us. Olyvia was an undergraduate, and she was working with me as a research assistant, but soon became the manager and master of the archive, and created this amazing spreadsheet that organized everything and told us where everything was. And we would not be here today without Olyvia. Yay, Olyvia. Her organizational abilities just took us to another level. And she was joined as well by Jasper Hunsinger, Ian DeHaven. Sorry if I'm saying last names wrong because I never say them out loud.
That's right.
Vicky Velasic, who I mentioned. Where is Vicky? Vicky joined our effort a year and a half ago, and really also was critical to taking us to the next line, editing everything, copy editing, helping us envision it, and became a critical part of our team. And in particularly in this past year, has ensured that we've been able to get where we are. I'm sure I'm going to forget someone. I want to mention also two other students, one now an alum, who helped with pieces of this, Nurhan Kazak, who did some of the oral histories that are going to be on the archive, Leif Malhes, who helped do some fact checking for us, Malhes, sorry, not Malhes, Leif Malhes, who did some fact checking for us to make sure we didn't spell people's names wrong and things like that. So I'm sure we made some mistakes somewhere, and we will find it, but we try to minimize those mistakes. and then we have this amazing team in Egypt as web developers, Rupen, Layla, and Nabil. Shifaa again, and I want to say another thank you to Shifaa, because Shifaa's really been the manager of the team. She helped us find website developers, she screened people, she got proposals for us. She single-handedly got everything we needed into some program that I don't know, got everything needed into some place that it needed to become live on the internet over winter break by herself. Literally took everything that we had digitized and put it somewhere so that we can now have an archive, which is beautiful, that she will show you. So yay, Shifaa. And then obviously, so this is really like a staff, student-driven project. And all the different people have been involved, from the interns to the undergrads to the math students to Ryan in the library to Vicky, just reflect the richness of the community we have. It was really a community project. And I also want to say that it would not have been possible to do all this without the support of our donors, right? So the National Resource Council was key to funding the time needed to do this. And I'd say also a key support from Aramco Americas, which has been Aramco Americas is a Aramco office here in DC, and they've been a long-term supporter of CCAS, particularly the educational outreach program, and were really critical to supporting us in getting this project to fruition and getting us to where we are today. So I want to thank Rania, who's here in representing Aramco, and want to make a special shout out to Aramco Americas for their long-term support and their particularly critical support for this project and for our 50th anniversary events. And another shout out for GU Library and Ryan, because they've been a critical partner on this project from the start. And they will also host a physical exhibit in the library in April. It's probably going to start even earlier than that. We'll have a little event around it where some of these artifacts, which you'll see online, will be displayed in the library display cases on one of the floors in the library, on the fifth floor. So, and also candles and others at Georgetown have been critical, but particularly I want to thank Georgetown's library. And I think that's all you need to hear from me. Shifaa is our master of ceremonies, so I'm going to hand it over to her, her mistress of ceremonies, or woman of, I don't know, mistress of ceremonies. Queen of ceremony. Queen of ceremonies.
Thanks. Thank you, Professor Adely. I think no matter how old I get and how, even though I'm no longer a student, I will continue to call you Professor Adely. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. It's so exciting to finally be able to show everyone this archive that we've been building. Just to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a MAAS alum, and I've been affiliated with the center really since I was an undergrad. I took the first class with Professor Adely, Development and Education, when I was a sophomore or junior, which was in 2016, I want to say. So I witnessed the last decade of Georgetown. And when she told me, Professor Adely came to me and she said, we're building this digital archive. And I was like, yes, please. I would love to work on this. It's going to be so exciting. And it was just Addy and I in the beginning with a bunch of boxes and many hours in the library. And then it was just taken on by Olyvia, and she made just the most incredible spreadsheet. She went through, her and the team, I will say, not just Olyvia, but it was a group effort. And I think Ava as well helped a lot. And we stole the production room for a very long time to actually have all the boxes. They went through 1,663 archival materials. And that's not including like all the photos. There was a lot more photos that were reviewed later on. But all of those materials were archived, digitized. There was a metadata for every single item. All the flyers, posters, handwritten notes, VHS tapes, films, like old rolls of film, cassette tapes. So many items from the past 50 years were just sitting somewhere in the office, and they were collated, put together, digitized. And by the way, digitized not just on like the phone or a normal scanner. People spent physical hours in the library scanning in that very old scanner, but produced amazing scans that you'll see on the website. And it finally, resulted in what you'll see today. So without further ado, I wanted to show you or share with you. I just reload this. The archive, 50 years of Arab studies. So there's a few elements to this website that were curated over the past 2 years, and it really was just a series of conversations and meetings that we had amongst the designers and the web developers later on. Once you join, you'll see these images that are sort of floating. They'll change every time you log into the website. You'll see different images of various archival material. You click on Explore Timeline, and then you'll see the 5 decades of the center from the very beginning. And each center is sort of described. These words were carefully curated, first written sort of haphazardly by me and I, and then later refined and edited and made so much better by Vicky. And if you would like to explore it further, you can click on a decade. And you'll see in every decade, there is a series of milestones and a series of fixtures that go along with them. So this is actually Walsh Building in 1975, where the center was originally. And it moved here in 1995, I believe, when the center was founded. That's Peter Krogh, William Fulbright. This was the inauguration of the center originally. Barbara Stowasser, who's an absolute legend of the center. There's just Michael Hudson, who was here for 30 years. I don't know how long exactly, but many of the decades of the center. And it was just incredible to get to see all of this material come together. And this is just one way you could explore the website. Another way is to go to the archive page, and you could look at the archives one by one. You can filter by country, you can filter by type. So if you just want to see pictures, you can just click on pictures, and it's just these incredible images from, does anyone know who this is? It's a MAAS student. Both of them are MAAS students. Both of them are MAAS students, or alum now.
They have their names.
This is not yet, is it?
Good metadata.
Yeah. There's just publications of different people. Anyone know who that is? Mr. Tucker is right here with us today. This is a very old image of her. There's documents as well from the Arab world that you can look at. Sorry, it glitches sometimes because we literally just launched it yesterday. Sorry, I'm not supposed to have
To work more kinks.
But anyway, this is another way as well to explore the website and look through it. And I'm not really going to say much else. I do want to give the floor to our team members who have worked on this. Just introduce yourselves, talk about your role for it, and sort of what your favorite part about working on this archive was.
Do you have an order you want us to go in? Or?
Let's start with Ali, and then we'll go Olyvia, Ryan, all the boys, the rest of the boys. Sorry. You can.
Okay.
You sit.
Okay. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for coming. As Professor Adely and Shifaa mentioned before, this process started in about September 2023. but it wasn't until January, I think, where I had to carry a lot of boxes. And I turned the production room into something of an organized dumpster. And then Shifaa came over and brought much needed calmness and composure and unlimited creativity to the project. And if there's anything that's a favorite part of my work here is working with everyone, but especially Shifaa for all of the reasons I mentioned, but Ryan for not just being a supervisor, but being a mentor, a friend and a colleague, and a very big supporter of me during the process, during my work at the library, but especially in this process, and everyone else at CCAS. Just a quick thing that I want to mention as a student of the culture and the intellectual traditions of the region, coming from the lineage of people at CCAS is an incredible responsibility, but also an incredible thing that I take pride in. But beneath all of these academic celebrities, I want to remember the students and the staff members who made the center what it is. And finally, I cannot finish without mentioning the late Jannah Qalai, an alum of CCAS who left this way too soon, and who was a very important person in my journey in the program. But yeah, I'll hand it over to Ryan. Thank you, everyone.
First.
Olyvia. Yeah, but thank you.
Thank you.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, hello from Turkey. It is currently 2:22 a.m. So you know how much I love CCAS to be awake this late. I miss you guys so much. I really wish I could be there, but it is wonderful that we finally made it to this moment. Hi, Rochelle. And I'm getting quite emotional seeing the culmination of all of our hard work. We spent many, many hours putting this together. And I was brought on as Professor Adely's research assistant about 2 years ago. And that was back when this was just a pile of boxes in the production room with Shifaa and Ali. And I took those boxes, I want to say there's like over 70 of them, and organized them chronologically and entered them into the spreadsheet. So those 1,600 items that Shifaa was talking about, we went through all of them. And it was amazing to see just how much content there is to the center and just the sheer amount of history and all the people that were involved in CCAS over half of the century. And it felt weird going through all of it and choosing which ones to showcase. And we went through many, many versions of the timeline beforehand. And so this is the final product, but there's so much more to CCAS's history. And I really wish we had several arguments over which items to include, but I'm very glad with what we have decided on. And it is wonderful to see it in the website format, that it went from Shifaa's presentation so many years ago, and it is wonderful to see what it has become. But yeah, so after we chose which items, which milestones to specifically highlight, I then, with Jasper and Ian, decided which material to specifically bring the archive to life so that it's not just words, but you can see the people that were involved and the different lectures that we held and other content. Some of the videos from these lectures are also recorded and on the website, which is really wonderful. So yes, CCAS means so much to me, and I'm so glad that I was able to be part of the project that immortalizes CCAS's history. So thank you, Professor Adely, for bringing me into this. And I miss you guys, and I hope you've been having a wonderful event.
Thanks, Olyvia. Thank you, Olyvia. I just want to start off by saying, wow, I can't believe we're here. I'm really, really appreciative of this dream team. There were moments I didn't think we'd make it here, and this saw the brunt of me not thinking we'd make it here and my panicking. But we, we laughed, we cried, but we made it. I just want to start off by saying it was a real privilege to work with these items. I mean, these are really unique sort of windows into CCAS's history. And it was a real privilege to be able to follow those, to go through the boxes, even if the manual labor at times was taxing on some of us. Most of you know me, but just in case, I'm Ryan Zohar. I'm the Middle East Studies librarian at Georgetown, and I serve as the liaison between CCAS and the library. And through that work, I've become deeply invested in the center's scholarship, community, and mission. CCAS truly is my academic home on campus. As you heard, Professor Adely and I first started talking about ways to celebrate CCAS's history through a digitally accessible, globally digitally accessible, not just to folks in the US, not just to folks at Georgetown, archival project. And we first started those discussions more than 3 years ago, I think. At the time, I don't think either of us fully realized how big a job it would be or how collaborative the project would become. And that while that was daunting, it's actually what makes this project so special. The digital archive isn't just about marking 50 years on a timeline. It's about preserving institutional memory, about surfacing voices, many of them of students and staff, in addition to faculty and the wonderful scholars that have come through these doors, and moments that might otherwise have been lost. And truly about making the history of CCAS accessible to future students, scholars, as well as community members. And it's a reminder that centers like CCAS are built not just through the scholarship, but through the people, relationships, and sustained connection over time. So what follows is going to be mostly a list of thank yous, but you'll hear tonight from CCAS staff, faculty, alumni, and students, all of whom played a huge role in shaping this project. And I want to thank those who will be serving on the panels following this for trusting us with their stories and with these materials as well. I also want to take a moment to thank the people who mostly work from behind the scenes, our incredible student workers and project team, who again you'll hear from, but as well as the designers and developer that we worked with, our colleagues in the library's special collections and digital scholarship services, and our partners in Candles. A project like this involves a lot of behind the scenes labor, metadata, scanning, troubleshooting, and then more troubleshooting. And very little of it is actually glamorous, but all of it truly is essential. Again, the digital archive isn't just about preserving the past, it's about making 50 years of scholarship, activism, and community accessible for the next generation, and ensuring that CCAS's history continues to be engaged, promoted, and built upon. And I'm really looking forward to celebrating with all of you and to diving into these 50 years of Arab studies. Thank you.
So hi, everybody. I'm Jasper. I'm a second year in the MAAS program. I actually started this journey as an undergraduate at Georgetown. I took Professor Rochelle Davis's C-Lab, Cultural Heritage in the Arab World, and traveled to Egypt with both Professor Davis and Ryan. After which I became Ryan's assistant in the library and sort of ultimately became like an officer liaison between the center and the library. I started working on this project in summer of 2024, doing a lot of the grunt work that others have mentioned, the scanning, the proofreading, identifying who's in photos, identifying which photos are poor quality or duplicates. But despite all of this, I'm truly struck by the gravity of this project. I'm truly struck by the importance and cultural and intellectual significance of this center. I really view it, and I really view my time here and the center not just as really my second home on campus, but also really as a privilege. I'm so grateful to have called all of you my coworkers, my mentors, my friends. I'm so grateful also to have produced something that can not only, showcase really the important history of this center, but also to make it really front-facing, to make an archive that's accessible to people around the world. No visa, no cold calling an archivist and hoping you get a response within 4 weeks, no formal letter of introduction, and no need to travel to the US and worry about being detained by ICE or worrying about the instability and unsafety that's come at a time like this. So I'm both privileged to be a part of this process and immensely proud. So thank you.
I'm Ian DeHaven. I'm a second year master's student, Arab studies. And I can only echo Jasper's comments about the privilege to work with these archival sources. This project for me, I joined later than everybody else. And it was a baptism by fire, a little bit maybe. But I caught up, I learned how to read the spreadsheet. And I think what was special for me about this project is it's like, I think that the MAAS program creates critical thinkers, but this project meant that it was coming home. And with this team, it's like, we didn't want the cobbler's kids to not have shoes. Like, we had to do it right. So talking with these people about historiography, which is really boring otherwise, but here it's like we had to do it right. So I guess glad to be here. Thanks, everybody. And I'd like to close with a quote from Antonio Gramsci.
Of course.
So, and I can package it a little bit, but in the prison notebooks, Antonio Gramsci wrote, "The starting point of critical elaboration is the consciousness of what one really is, and is knowing thyself as a product of the historical process to date, which has deposited in you an infinity of traces without leaving an inventory. Therefore, it is imperative at the outset to compile such an inventory." And I think we did that. Wow.
Thank you guys so much. That was beautiful. I didn't ask them to do this, by the way. They just their own thing. They're incredible. I think you rarely get to hear from the team that built something. So it's great to hear from you guys. And thank you all so much. If I could please, invite our panelists today. So now that you've heard from the people who built the website, we'll talk about the people who built the center and who have been such a crucial part of it over the past 50 years. I'll let everyone introduce themselves later on, but just wait for people to get in. You have to be commemorating these moments. Bassam, are you with us? He's online.
Oh, he is, okay. I just didn't see his. There he is, okay.
Yeah. Better?
It's fun.
Please, can you help me? Thank you. Yeah, can you? I want to shut up. You started when we were 10, right? My goodness, wow, very wow.
Oh, no. I think that when you had it. That's okay, I think. I think it's just okay like that. When he speaks, you can do that, right? He's not
Yeah,
speaking
sure.
now.
I can stop sharing. Sorry, technical difficulties, which is sort of funny given this is a technical project.
Yeah, And you're the tech person.
I don't understand Zoom. What's I can do? So in celebration of the center's 50th anniversary and launching this digital archive, we wanted to bring together a team of students, alum, staff members, and faculty who have worked like diligently to make this center what it is. I think a lot of people forget when they first join the MAAS program, just the brevity and immense depth of this center's history. And these people have made it what it is today. They're absolute legends. In the center, I will invite you all to introduce yourselves if you can, talk about your connection to the center, when you were here, and the roles you've played throughout the years. You can have maybe Zeina, you'd like to start? Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zeina Azzam. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm usually very soft-spoken. I'll try to speak a little more loudly, but I started working at the center in 1980 and from 80 to 88, and then I came back in 94 to 2013. So I was here for 27 years of the 50. I think everyone was saying that it was a privilege, and it really has been such a privilege. I was thinking before talking, as I prepared myself for tonight, I think coming to work here was one of the more consequential decisions I made in my life. I was here at the center where I grew with the center, and the center grew with me. I did really interesting work. It was very meaningful work, and it was just really a privilege for me. I started out as the administrative officer, which meant organizing events and writing the newsletter. And then more and more, it was just me and Dr. Hudson at that time when I first started working. And then we hired a secretary. And then across the street, we were in the Walsh building, but on the side at Prospect Street in the basement. It was like a very tiny place. It was a basement. We had cockroaches and everything. And across the street was the MAAS program in the car barn. And that would be Dr. Rudy and Gail Griffith, who was the staff member then. But then we grew and grew, and I became assistant director. And so I did fundraising, and I also did publications manager work. So, when you work in a small organization, you take on a lot of different roles. But as the organization grew, we had to kind of devolve these roles to others. I left for a few years. I went to get my graduate degree, and I had children. And then in 1994, I was looking for part-time work. And I came back and took on a part-time educational outreach. And that's what I did from 94 until 2013. I think I'm talking too much. No. I left in 2013, and I've done, my jobs have all been in Middle East studies and Arab studies. I worked for Qatar Foundation International for a couple of years. And then I was the executive director of the Jerusalem Fund Palestine Center. And then I was the editor for Arab Center Washington, which is a think tank here in DC. And then I've been doing poetry ever since I retired in 2022. And that's kind of what my focus right now is being a poet and writing poetry. So anyway, it's so lovely to be with all of you tonight.
And Zeina was the poet laureate of the city of Alexandria, Virginia. She's being very modest here, not saying all of that, but we're quite proud of her for all of that. Sorry. I think I'm out of order. Did you want us to be in some sort of order?
It doesn't have to be, Professor Tucker is the next
Yeah, so, okay.
joiner, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's a CCAS.
Yeah, yes, I was the next. I came in 1983, actually. Yeah. So anyway, let me just say a quick congratulations to everybody those who conceived of this project and those who implemented it that we've heard from tonight. I mean, as a historian, I'm really, really pleased as punch that this archive now exists. And I think about the many people who are going to draw on this to write institutional history, to write intellectual history of Middle East studies, to write the history of Georgetown, to write the history of American engagement with the Arab world. There's so many good projects that are going to come out of this wonderful project. So just thinking about the future. So I was thinking about, okay, so I was an undergraduate and a graduate student and a postdoc at an institution in Cambridge, Massachusetts, that suffered a little bit from self-regard and rarely taking any account of developments outside its own walls. So then I remember when I was there beginning to hear rumors about something that was happening at Georgetown. And these rumors even penetrated into the Harvard Center for Middle East Studies. And the rumor was that there was something new going on here. It was a new center, it was a new academic program, it was breaking the mold in a number of ways. It was focused on the Arab world, which was unlike any other program in the country. It was being run by a group of faculty who either hailed from the region or really seemed to like the region. And it was insisting on very serious study of Arabic for all its students. Thank you, Ustaz Bakush. It also was situating the study of the modern Arab world in sort of political, cultural, historical context is something new and different for sure that was commanding the attention of even those people who were most afflicted by academic complacence. So when I was offered, and it wasn't a decision I made, it was a decision Georgetown made, but when I was offered a tenure-line position at Georgetown in 1983, I really felt like I had won the academic lottery. It was, I was so lucky. So I joined a faculty and a place that were unique in the American Academy at the time, unique in their approach to the study of the region. As you know, the center was, I think almost all of you know, was founded and shaped in its early years by a generation of stellar Arab intellectuals, including Hisham Sharabi, Hana Batatu, Hana was actually hired just a year before me, actually, where he wasn't like founder per se. Halim Barkat, Ibrahim Awais, along with American scholars with great experience and vision, close ties to the region, above all the political scientist Michael Hudson, but also the historian John Rudy and Islamic studies scholar Barbara Stowasser. So, they really established the mission of the center, formulating this unique academic program, focusing on the Arab world and establishing it as really the go-to place for the study of the modern Arab region. There lies it's sort of a deep history. So I would just say that looking back on those early years, as I've had occasion to comment on before, but it's easy to see how the nationalist politics the Arab nationalist politics of the 1960s and 1970s were really central to the formation of this center. And some of the founders, Sharabi and Barakat in particular, had been living in the region, had been politically active when Arab unity appeared to be the key to shaking off imperial domination. And, when the promise of Arab socialism was still with us, as seen as the approach to building a robust post-colonial society and economy. So the Arab world, I think what I'm trying to say is the Arab world was a very legible unit, right? And it was a legible and important unit that represented a viable political project that could contest neo-colonial domination. So, and I think it lived on in the early years of the center. I mean, that's really, so the center came out of that space and in a sense was true to that space, even though, of course, it came to be very challenged in the decades afterwards, which I'm sure some of the other people on this panel will speak to. So, I mean, I would also say importantly, the original founders and those who joined in the early years shaped not only the sort of motivation for study, but they also shaped the content. And it's hard to think back, but in those days when the center was founded, I mean, Orientalism was still kind of the king of, and that was what drove the study of the Middle East region. It was the region was being studied primarily as a product of Islam and an amorphous Islamic culture. That was on the one hand, but there was also another strand of it was studied as a developmentally challenged traditional society on the other that just needed the help of the West to develop. So the center was really set up to refuse these approaches and to refute them. And that was something very new in regional studies centers at the time. And I think from the beginning, the Arab world of the center was a dynamic place of accomplishment, of political and social struggle, and of possibility. Now, I don't want to imply that the MAAS curriculum celebrated the region without any critical sense. Certainly, and I think increasingly over time, as the region grappled with different kinds of problems, there was the spirit of criticism grew stronger and was reflected in the event spaces and in classrooms alike. But I want to stress that I always felt when I was here that the analysis of failures and dispiriting defeats in the region were always made in a spirit of solidarity, of empathy, and they often centered critical voices from the region itself. Very different from some of our peer institutions, in fact. So let me just say, finally, I want to speak to the vibe of the place, at least as I first experienced it in the 1980s. I mean, the faculty were really happy to be here, right? And happy and excited to be here. It was very different from anything I'd ever experienced. And they were among colleagues who seemed to share their world views, even if, everybody didn't always agree on all the details. And this fantastic staff, those who they counseled students, they ran the outreach program, they helped with events. And you always felt the staff seemed to view their work as a calling rather than simply a job. And then there were the students who populated the program, who formed a community and built an esprit that, was very foreign to my past academic experience. And I'd never seen it in sort of academic programs I'd been part of. And, that it's that kind of community and esprit. And I think the whole feel one got from the first panel that seems to have endured. And I don't know what the secret to that is, but I'm sure other people would love to know and love to hear about it. Thanks.
If you would like to go next. Talk about your decade. When did you join the center? And you founded two very important publications that are now known to be known in Arab studies. So please talk about your experience.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ahlan wa sahlan, everyone.
Speak.
I am very happy to be here. Despite my stern look is a function of what's happening beyond us. But I am very happy to be here. I'm very thankful, first of all, to the remarkable work that everyone has put into the archive, the digital archive, and the leadership of Fida to actually conceive of this and with the support and help of so many people make it a reality. I cannot think of anything more valuable at this moment than to commemorate and to celebrate 50 years of everything. at the center. So I'm personally deeply grateful to all the people that did the work and the people that spoke and also the people that worked behind the scenes, which I always like to thank because they we don't know them sometimes, and I just want you to know that so many people appreciate what you do, even if you're not in the forefront. So that's that. Thank you so much for that, and thanks for inviting me. To everyone who actually asked me to join, I appreciate the privilege. I know there are so many people like me and better than me who have gone through the years at the MAAS program and have done remarkable things. I joined in 1992, the MAAS program until 1994. I graduated and then went upstairs 3 floors, well, 4 floors by the time I left because we had moved to a bigger space that you are in right now to finish my or to start and finish my PhD at the government department. And then in 2002, I taught for a couple of years at Georgetown before I left to teach elsewhere. And so my time at CCAS spanned the first Iraq invasion to the second Iraq invasion, the launch of the global war on terror, peace be upon it, and then the actual second invasion of Iraq, the more fraudulent one in 2003. However, I would like to think that I never left CCAS, and I will actually never leave CCAS. In fact, the idea that when I left, and so many of us left, that we would take the journal with us because our institutions, wherever we went, from Harvard to NYU to George Mason to UC Santa Barbara and elsewhere, or AUB, those of us who went to all these places, could have taken it, and it would have been really appreciated at the institutions where we actually landed as educators. But we decided to leave the Arab Studies Journal at the center, not just because the center and Georgetown are remarkable places, but this is its home, this is its identity, and this is where it should always be. And I don't want to get too emotional, but I really appreciate the support of so many people at Georgetown, at the center, the kind of backbone that we were given by these educators and researchers and authors to actually stay at Georgetown despite some serious challenges, sometimes from closer quarters than one would like to think. And at the head of this group is Judith Tucker, who is, Judith, I know you know this. I know you know this because we've told you, but Judith has like a cult. I have to say it. I mean, a cult that is generalized. It's not a cult that is specific and idiosyncratic. It's actually a remarkable large sets of people who actually love what Judith has done, not just as a remarkable and outstanding author and researcher and scholar, but also as a fort. Yes, Judith is a fort, and that fort is one of the pillars of CCAS over the years. We can only name a few who actually can stand up to that description. And I say it on behalf of all of my colleagues, the ones that have actually pushed for the production and creation and production of the Arab Studies Journal and what came of it beyond, including Sinan Antoun, Nadia Sbeiti, Shireen Sayali, and many, many others. Okay, so I don't know how much time I have, but I just want to say a few things about the center and also about since I know that some students are in the audience, I have my spies in the audience and I asked if there are students. I love educators and professors and alumni. You're all awesome. But we are far, far less important than the students who are there because they are going to build the future. And of course, we are there to do what we need to do. I just want to say that in speaking about CCAS, I want to say that institutions matter. Institutions matter. It sounds, mundane, but we have to keep repeating and recognizing that institutions matter. It's not just the effort of individuals. It's not the brilliance of individuals. It's not the popularity and stardom of individuals. It's not the things we produce. Institutions in and of themselves matter. And they don't just bring people together for extended periods of time, which is in itself remarkable. But most importantly, they provide the space within which synergy occurs over a period of time. And this is what makes the whole far, far, far larger than the sum of the parts. So that's my first point about institutions creating the space for synergy. Second point is that this is why CCAS has been able to punch sometimes way above its weight and have a presence and gravity that is memorable, not just to us, but to everyone in the field. There isn't a person in the field that I know of, even if they are from whatever institution and they have done remarkable or achievements or accomplished so much, they see CCAS as a lone star. It's because of that. And it's true that all institutions create synergies and synergetic spaces. But CCAS added value was that it was not merely a collection of individuals that are connecting over time and creating the synergy. And that's definitely a necessary thing, but it's not sufficient to explain why CCAS is what it is. I think CCAS, beyond that, was and still is a community and one that continues to thrive. It wasn't a one-off burst of several years or even 10 or 15 or 20 years. It's something that, as you can see, after 50 years, the people in this room, I'm not there. I'm really sorry. I had to attend to something marital, which is, yeah, don't get married. But beyond that, is this being recorded for posterity?
No.
Okay. So So it's really what I want to get to. That is that it's a community, and it's a community that continues to exist. I'm here because I'm always in touch with so many of the people that are there. I'm not just called in and I'm like, oh hi, it's been great to speak with. It's been a wonderful time that we've had, and I'm glad we're in touch. We're always in touch. Fida and I are in touch. Rochelle and I are in touch. I see Judith everywhere, and I still have to uh, do good on my promise because I wanted to actually.
Oh, you lost you,
Um,
Bassam.
Bassam, you went silent.
You went silent.
Now, how long?
Yeah,
You're back.
you're back.
I should have mentioned the marital thing. I knew it. Hence, don't get married. They can get you. All right.
Maybe
So fine.
1 minute and wrap it up.
I have 1 minute.
Yes, please.
That's awesome. I thought I'm done. Okay.
Oh, you
Um,
can be done.
So finally, I must repeat what I said at the Mesa event, and that is what made this community. In other words, there's the institution aspect, there's the community aspect, the institutional synergy and community, but a lot of institutions have that. So what I want to finish with is to talk about what made this community stand out beyond beyond the institutional context over a period of time. And that is the quality of the people and talent it attracted, and most of all, the sheer warmth and love that predominantly prevailed. I know that sounds cheesy, but I don't care. The warmth and love that we have for each other, actually, the majority of us have for each other, to be quite frank, right, is something that is truly unique. And you will not find it elsewhere. You will not find it elsewhere. I have been to universities all over the United States and beyond, in Europe and the Middle East. I have never seen a community that has stuck together for so long. And I'll close with this aspect, and I'll say an addendum. I say an addendum, which is excellence also matters. But the reason it has taste, the reason it has longevity, that is excellence, is because it's on top of all of the things I described. And that's what makes CCAS a phenomenon, honestly. the work we've done at the Arab Studies Journal and later at the Arab Studies Institute and the productions we have actually been lucky and fortunate to have been given the space to achieve is very much born out of all of these aspects that I shared with you, not least the support and the love and the excellence that we actually synergized with at CCAS. And I'm not going to talk about ASJ or ASI. People may or may not know what these things are. But more important than that is the al-hadina, is the actual starting point, the institutional starting point that gave rise to all of this, which is CCAS. So I implore everyone, I ask everyone there who is in the middle or the beginning of their careers to embrace it and to recognize that it will stay with you forever. And thank you all for asking me to speak. I hope I wasn't too dramatic or emotional, but I'm very, very happy to be here and enjoyed listening to everyone.
Thank you, Matt.
You joined in the fourth.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rochelle Davis, and I first just want to say, before I came into the room, I was looking at the archive. I got the sneak link sent to me via email, and I just want to say, oh my God, it is amazing. So really, just kudos to all of you who worked on it, and really to Fida, Professor Adely, for leading this kind of organizing and getting everybody in place and powering through it. So congratulations, everyone. It's really fantastic. I've been here 21 years, since 2005. And I just wanted to say, Judith, the faculty are still really happy to be here. People ask me, what's it like teaching at Georgetown? And I say, oh my God, the students are so amazing. They are just wonderful. And it's just always, I find it really exciting to teach and to provoke and to think and to discuss with the students, because our students really are phenomenal. And I do also thank Bassam for all that he said, because I think he really captured the sort of spirit and ethos of the center, as did Judith and Zeina. Zeina, you were talking about growth of the center and how we grew together. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to say, you went with cockroaches and we have grown to mice. They float around the center if you've ever been here in the dark of the night or in the food spaces. So we grow in many different ways. Yeah. I did all of my education in public institutions, and I did all of my undergraduate and graduate education in large public universities, University of California and University of Michigan, with, each of them had over 30,000 students in them. And so then I taught at Stanford, and then I taught here. So I went to very small elite private institutions to teach. And I think there's really something to the very close-knit group that we have. And there's also something in this particular moment, which I was very glad to Jasper for pointing out, that we have a level of freedom that is to talk about things, to teach what we want in our syllabi that people in public universities don't have. And so I just want to acknowledge that. And as I look back at the center over its 5 decades and what all of us who are part of it have really been part of, I think there's a couple things that I want to say, and they sort of echo what other people have said, but it's really that we have been thinking about and involved in knowledge production, and I see that really as rooted in systems of power and not as something sort of neutral. And so we've really been both sort of questioning knowledge production and producing knowledge of the kind that is valuable. And I reflect on this back because of really the work of Bassam, Haddad, and Sinan Anton and the others when they started the Arab Studies Journal in 1992. And they then moved into the Arab Studies Institute and really kind of sponsored a whole project thinking about knowledge production, sort of taking it out of just knowledge production happening to the meta of what do we think about knowledge production and how can we sort of understand what is being produced, how, when, where, and why, and by whom, and for whom. And so I think that's really something that we have also embraced at CCAS and kind of always make visible as much as we can. And then I think a second thing that we do, and I'll sort of close with this, is that, and others have mentioned it as well, is that one of the things we've always really done is to make sure that there is room at the table for different voices. You know, they say if the table's not big enough, then you know, you build a longer table, you build a bigger table. And so I think CCS has really tried to do that. It's very hard to do programming and do classes around the 22 plus or minus countries of the Arab world. But I think, you know, we are one of the few places that, you know, teaches about Sudan, that teaches about Somalia, that teaches about North Africa, the Gulf, and the Levant and Mesopotamia, and tries to kind of think of those things. I think one of our limitations is that we call it the Arab world. And so in recent years, particularly following the murder of George Floyd, I think we really took on, and this is reflected in the archive, we really taken on some of the ideas of thinking about, well, what does Arab world include and what does it leave out? And how can we expand the idea of this place that we study to make sure that we are including non-Arabs in this geography that the Arab world designates. And so I think we've we've at least taken on the project. I think one of the things that we do in our teaching has been to really try and bring in voices from the Arab world into our teaching through translations when we can, but also through ensuring that our students can read and write and speak in Arabic. And we are one of the few programs that continues to insist that that is essential to who you are as a student of a program. And Ustaz Bakush is really to be thanked for that. I mean, how many years have you been here now, Ustaz Bakush?
What can I say?
How many years?
Many years.
You're getting close to 50, right? Yeah.
Don't look like
So it's professors who have the dedication to making sure that our students can manage the Arabic grammar and the Arabic vocabulary and everything that goes with the Arabic, even if it makes them cry regularly. That's also part of the experience. I saw some hands raised when I said cry back there. But it is this kind of this emphasis on the language as part of our study that has really been part of, I think, advocating for a democracy of voice. That we can't know what we can't be experts or knowledgeable about the Arab world if we can't read what Arabs are reading and writing in their own and saying in their own language. And so to me, it's been these two axes, polars, one of sort of knowledge production and the other, this kind of democracy of voice, this sort of opening up a table. And through both of those things, I think it has also been our role to also help students find their own voices and help students find their own projects and where they want to go, and also, you know, their own ways of producing knowledge. And so that's how I have also seen our role as faculty here at the center, is this kind of, we are guides, we are here to sort of help you bring critical perspectives, but we are part of this institution, this community that sort of embraces and includes as many voices as we can. So thank you.
Rochelle Davis, and thank you for ending on students, because our last speaker is a MAAS alum. And also her own legend of the center.
Very emotional. I'm gonna try not to shed tears while I say what I have to say, but I want to thank you all for thinking about me and for inviting me to be part of this panel. I'm very touched and moved, and okay, I'm gonna do it lightly, differently. I actually learned about CCAS from Bassam Haddad because I was his undergrad student at George Mason University. And when I graduated in 2009, he was like, listen, you need to check this website and you need to look at this program and you need to go there. And I was like, okay. So I actually looked at the, the program. I thought this is a great program, but I really wanted to go back to the Arab world and kind of, get some experience. Of course, I studied conflict analysis and resolution. So let's say that I was really politicized in a very Western liberal ideas about the Middle East, about the Arab world. So when I went back home after I graduated, I started a process of unlearning a lot of what, I was taught. And, I've always thought about going back to school, but then the Arab uprisings happened. And then, I became involved. And then I did a master's at SOAS in 2011. And that's when, I started getting, as I would like to say, real education about the region. But the program was only 9 months, and I didn't feel that, I really got into, the research and the knowledge that was there that I really wanted to immerse myself in. And then my best friend, who is also an alum, grad Adriya Abu Shhade, I was talking to her once, and she was telling me, I was telling her I need to go back to school. I'm not sure where to go. And then she was like, you need to go to CCAS, you need to do the MAAS program. And then I remembered that Bassam had told me about it too. So I applied, and I'm very grateful that I got in. Everyone knows that I love CCAS so much. I mean, the 2 years that I was here, I was challenged in many ways, my knowledge, my relationship to the region, the way I viewed scholars, the way I thought of knowledge production. And I've always knew that I wanted to do a PhD, or by the time I got here, I knew that I wanted to become a scholar. But it was really after taking classes with faculty here and, engaging with the staff that, I felt I was surrounded by so many amazing role models that I even felt a big responsibility about being a scholar and a knowledge producer of the region. And, my thanks are to literally every single person in the center, from faculty, from staff, from my colleagues. I just want to tell you a bit about the journey of applying to the PhD program, because, I always, people always say that it takes a village for any milestone in your life to materialize. And really that has been the case for me. I also ask for help, and I ask people I involve people in my life. And in CCAS, everyone was so welcoming and so generous with their time, with their feedback. I think everyone read my statement, my PhD statement, from Rochelle, from Fida, from Vicky, I even talked to Professor Marwa, who I didn't take classes with, but I had a meeting with her, and I told her, I'm thinking about going to this school and this school. Kelly as well, read my writing sample, and Mustafa Oxikad, Professor Mustafa Oxikad, and of course, Professor Judith, who became my supervisor because I got into the history program here at Georgetown. So similar to Bassam, I only moved 4 floors up, and, I started my PhD here at Georgetown. And I also want to add another thing about this PhD acceptance, because you don't apply to one school, you apply to many schools. And it happened that every school that I applied to and the person that I wanted to work with was either a graduate of MAAS or a student of Professor Judith Tucker. I applied to work with Professor Domani at Brown. I applied to work with Professor Shireen Saeed at UC Santa Barbara, and they also were very generous with the feedback. Khalas, it's like, you're associated with the center, your family, they still talk to me, even though, I not go to their, universities. They still check on me, see how my research is doing. And, really, that's the village. I mean, I really feel, I was never alone, throughout these. I mean, it's been 9 years inshallah, I'm graduating in May, and it's but even listening to everyone now, I've been very anxious about, graduating. I've been a student for 9 years, and now, it's like the unknown, so to speak, after graduation. But I think part of my anxiety is related to CCAS and not being, I literally, the first day of class every year, I don't go to the history department. I come here, I say hi to everyone, I meet a lot of the new students. So I feel like I'm also connected not just to my cohort, but to all the other cohorts that came after me and even the ones before me. And I mean, I think this is what's so special about, CCAS. It is the community, it is the love and the genuine care. I feel that at CCAS, the relationship between people are not transactional, which is really rare and hard to find. The more I talk to my colleagues at other departments in other institutions, I always say alhamdulillah, I'm part of this group that I'm supported. Even now, I'm applying to postdocs and everyone is involved in the process of reading my applications, giving me feedback. I guess, part of, inshallah, for me, when I become a scholar, that I will pay it forward, that I will take care of my students, that I will be generous with my time. And just to decenter myself a bit and maybe talk about, two difficult moments that happened when, I was a student, first the pandemic and then the genocide in Gaza. And I think, in both instances, it was really hard for many of us. Some of us really struggled to cope with the changes, with the isolation, with not visiting our families during the pandemic. And now with the genocide, I'm not going to go into the details. You all have been here the past 2 years. You know what it's like. And I wasn't here when the genocide started in Gaza. I was in Amman, but literally I would call my friends here to check on them. And everyone's like, alhamdulillah, we have CCAS. We're so grateful that we have this community. Just going there, seeing people, sometimes you just want a hug, you want coffee, you want to have, a familiar face, a friendly face. And I think a lot of students found that, during these crazy times that we're in. And the last thing I will close on is basically how much I admire the faculty and the staff here, because, they teach us a lot about anti-colonialism and how we need to speak up and human rights and all of that. But they're not just teaching us, they're actually practicing these things. So I actually met Professor Judith in a protest. You probably don't remember, but it was when I was deciding, who am I going to work with? Who do I want to, work with in my PhD. Professor Judith was at a protest for Gaza in 2017 in DuPont Circle. And I remember seeing her there and thinking, wow, the faculty actually protest. Like, this is not something, now, the faculty are a lot more present in protests over the past week, but that was in 2016.
Recruitment, we had that.
Putting on protests.
Well, it worked. I'm so grateful. And so yes, and the last thing I think I said the last thing 3 times. That was the last thing. I'm very grateful for the archive team. I'm a historian. I love archives. I love oral histories more. So I'm grateful that you have them in the website too. I also had a sneak peek, and I really was thinking, I want to write the history of CCAS. Now we have an archive, and I want to do a documentary on it. So I hope the whole fabulous team can, when I finish my dissertation. Thank you so much. I love you.
Thank you all so much. I had a list of questions, but you guys answered them as you spoke, so I won't go through all of them. Honestly, the history of the center speaks for itself, and it speaks through you, and because of you, and because of everyone who is present today. I think one thing when we were introducing this program and the center to the designers in Egypt, they were just so excited because they were like, it's amazing that a center like this exists somewhere, and we want to bring it to the Arab world as well. And most of the students now are Arabs. They're producing knowledge on their own countries. They're writing, they're creating art, and writing creative fiction and creative nonfiction. And I was taught from day one as a student with Professor Adely and Professor Davis to create, be creative and to never stop asking the right questions. And that's what the center teaches you. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for being a part of this process. Sorry, Zeina, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I don't know if you were closing up, but I felt like I didn't say what I wanted to say. I thought I was just supposed to introduce myself. And that's why I didn't say very much. So could I take, of course, a couple of minutes to do that? I also want to thank you all for this incredible archive. I feel like the people who worked on it, even though I just met many of you today, I feel like I'm so connected to you already, just because we have this incredible connection with the center. I was here during the Israeli invasion of Lebanon in '82. I was here during 9/11, and I can imagine all of you these days to get you feeling this sort of camaraderie and solidarity in terms of Gaza. The same thing happened way back then too. All these really incredible, you walk away from the center and you're in the outside world and everything is hostile. But it felt really amazing and important to me to come to the center and to feel this, this holding, this lifting up and this common feeling of humanity about the Arab world and about what was going on there. And I wanted to say that, and I also feel like a lot of the friendships I made at the center they have been lifelong friendships with faculty, with staff, and with many students, actually. When I came here, I was in my early 20s. I was pretty much the same age as a lot of the students. So it was really a wonderful time and a way to connect on different levels. I actually came here because I wanted to do the MAAS program, but then I ended up not doing it. But so I had that initial interest. Could I talk a little bit about the outreach program?
Yes,
Is this a good
please.
time?
Yeah.
So in 1983, we at the center, we decided that it was important to try to share the resources of the university with the larger community in the DC area, and basically with K through 12 teachers, but also we wanted to reach out to community organizations as well. And so I wrote the first proposal for this, we called it the Community Resource Service. And it was a 3-year grant at $10,000 a year. And we were able to hire somebody part-time to start this program. And it was Nan Anthony, and then Julie Petit took the job, and then Nina Dodge and many other people. But it was this project that was so meant a lot to me, and it was a lot. It was important for us to be doing what we were doing. Outreach to schools was something across the country. All the university programs were moving in that direction as well. So that was this little program. We started at 15 hours a week. And then when I left the center and came back, that was what I did. And I had children by then, so it was even more meaningful to do this work. And I realized so quickly how what we could bring to the schools, especially to the schools and to the teachers, was something they were getting from nowhere else. And in addition to that, I think it was really important for us to show them that the world was not just, the Arab world was not just a region of conflict, but it was a locus of culture and history and heritage. And, so I did a lot of programs on literature and music, art, and all sorts of things. And I know that my successor continued to do some of these things as well. So I think this was a really important part of outreach. And of course, the Title VI grant that we got in 1997 just kind of made everything grow. And that my job became full-time. I started part-time. And we did trips for teachers, which is something they would not have been able to do otherwise. We took teachers to one trip to Syria and Turkey, one trip to Morocco, and one trip to Egypt. And one of my predecessors took them to Palestine and Jordan, I think. So this was really, these are important opportunities that we offered and continue to offer at the center for teachers, K through 12, and I guess K through 14. We always had teachers, professors from colleges come also, but I think Susan Douglas, my successor, made that more institutionalized and formalized. And the MAAS students were really a big part of the outreach program. I used to send MAAS students to schools and when, yes, nodding. And so that was a great thing that we could share our expertise and our resources to our students. And it gave the students a good opportunity and some good experience as well. So anyway, that's what I wanted to just make sure that I got that information across.
And please do interact with the website. There is a lot of information on the outreach program, and some beautiful pictures that Zeina shared with us from those trips.
How do they access the website?
It's CCAS archives .georgetown.domains. So if you can pick up one of these cards, they'll have the domain name there. If you have any questions, you can send us an email, ccasinfo@georgetown.edu. I think.
I have an announcement when you're done.
Yes, and if you have any questions, does anyone have any questions
I
before?
have a quick comment following up what Samar said. I didn't go up 5 floors, I went up 5 hours. The Amtrak sometimes makes it into 8, like today.
Yeah.
But I have this muscle memory whenever I'm registering for classes to check what CCAS is offering every semester. And I think I'll do this for the rest of my life. And because again, as everyone said, this place is very important for forming people about the region. And as Bassam said, the institution matters, but also the people matter. And looking every semester at the courses offered by CCAS makes me proud to be part of this institution. Not in the past, I'm always part of it.
You will always be part of it. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna stand here. Well, one, I want to say in the tradition of ASJ and all the great work our students have produced in the past, we also now have a student podcast, Shukaman, and they just released a new episode with Rashid Khalidi. So they've been interviewing students, speakers that come through. Ryan, I think you were the first person they interviewed, right? So this is your second. So is this your 4th episode? 4th? 5th? Yes. And they're also recruiting people to work with the podcast. So Shukaman, Spotify, and elsewhere. Look it up. It is the new initiative which we will be celebrating 50 years from now, inshallah. Yeah. Inshallah. Well, I don't know. It may not be a podcast. The technology changing so fast. It might be just something coming down from the sky, right? And I have a small token of appreciation, I think. Oh, there they are. Let's give them that. Yeah. I don't see him. Shifaa, because you really got us here. And this last one. I was like, this is never gonna happen by January 15th. Shifaa was like, don't worry, I got